to StrangeCast Player One. This was Life is Strange podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I'm here. I am present. I am in the moment.
Yes, you're here in the moment. We're back after a little bit of a longer period. We changed our schedule around because the last episode we had Eric and Maury on, which you can go and watch, and you should watch. It was a kind of a full-on Expanse special. We spoke to about stuff, and I think there's a couple of Life is Strange bits, but it was mainly Expanse related. There is a bit of Expanse in here. A little bit of Life is Strange, but as of like next month, we'll kind of get more heavy back on Life is Strange. I know that the topics have kind of been here and there, but we'll get back onto it properly next month because it's just kind of been news left, right, and center from different developers. But either way, go and watch that episode. It's really fun. We talked to Eric Maury, which is great. So definitely check that out. But as always, if you are new here, please do consider dropping subscribe, turn on notifications, like the video, and share with your friends. Helps keep up to date with the content, helps stay up to date with our content. And StrangeCast is available on all podcast services, so you can check us out on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon Music. We're on all, and Stitcher comes to the end of this month, so we won't be on that anymore. Adam, we've got some exciting news. Should we kick off things?
Oh, do you?
Yes. So, you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, so let's go with the first piece of news. So we're going to Nod Montreal. This is our first piece of news. A little bit unexpected, but we kind of have more information to feed to you and drip feed to you here. So I'm going to Fred's, and we have Luke Baghadoust, who works at Nod Montreal, who worked on Life is Strange 2. I feel like I don't need to reveal who he is now after having spoken to him, having spoken about him for about 50 plus episodes.
Yeah.
But Luke posted a picture, which is quite nice. And he put, "Look who's back," and he CC'd Michel Koch, also who he works with at Nod Montreal, Life is Strange 1 and 2 co-director. But in between, there's a very special person in the photo as well. I'd actually sent Luke a message on Instagram story saying, "Look who's back, Big Philip." And he's like, "Ha ha ha, yes." So yes, the man in the middle of the photo, which might be the thumbnail, I presume it might be the thumbnail, I'll probably nick it for the thumbnail, is Philip Bache, who's standing there. And he was, for many of you who have watched Life After Strange will know that the voice actors of the series heavily worked with Philip Bache because he was the VO director on Life is Strange 1, Before the Storm, and Life is Strange 2. They basically moved to full body performance capture for True Colors, but he is back on this project. So, that was our piece of news. And there was also a screenshot that we found on Instagram stories from Mary, who works at Life is Strange, who works at Nod Montreal, and there's a photo that said "It's a wrap." So it was like a little, a photo there. Luke's in there, Michelle's in there, Mary's in there,
Philippe.
Philip Bache is in there. He's quite like little tucked away, hidden in the side. I believe that's Frederica on the right. I believe that's Marin at the back. Who's Bloodfiend? I'm looking at the handle, Bloodfiend. There's a handle there in the bottom corner where it says Bloodfiend. I think that might be Juliet. No, it might not be Juliet. I think it's not. Yes, so this is the first piece of news, and I'm going to quickly find out whose tag this is. So you're going to see live action investigation. Have a look.
Yeah, but me and Adnan spoke off camera about this, saying like it's a wrap. Like what's a wrap? Is it a wrap? Is it like, did they get sandwiches and they got wraps? Is the whole set a wrap? Like what's in a box? So it's kind of like a mystery of what's a wrap. But yeah, well Adnan is investigating. He will interrupt me, but yeah, this I want to say it's pronounced Philippe because it's only one L, and
not the Stephen dilemma again, please.
I kept calling him Stephen. Philippe.
I kept calling Stephen at the end of the episode. I was like, "Why am I? Stop it! Let's stop it."
But it's like it's very much they're bringing in team members of Life is Strange, so it's gonna be their next game might be like a Life is Strange light, much like a Metroidvania is the way it is, but this might be Life is Strange light because they're bringing in the heavy hitters of voice acting coaches. So I am in for the corny lines of Life is Strange. Like I am here for it. So the more corny lines the better. So and the more directions of those corny lines the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, completely agree with you. So this is the picture I am referring to, which I'll pull on my screen. This was also, we
Yes.
tweeted this off Player One versus the World. So this is the It's a Wrap photo. No hot dog man, as we called Luke
No
Baghadoust out about.
sandwiches.
No sandwiches, no It's a Wrap, nothing. So I did a bit of work on this, and no, it was not Juliet who's at the bottom left. So from that photo I just showed you, bottom left is Kathy V. Next to her is Marion Eskian. Then next to her, I believe, is Frederica. And then behind Frederica will be Philip Bache. Then behind Phil will be Luke. Then the person next to Luke, I believe, is Marin. Then the person next to Marin is obviously Michel.
Michel, yeah.
So I think in that order, that is all the people that are in the photo. So yeah, as Adam said as well, it's quite interesting because It's a Wrap does mean quite a few things as well. It means that, well, yeah, they could be much further ahead in this project than we think they are. And well, do you know what as well? It kind of makes sense as well, because we were like, we saw that photo a while back when they were in the mocap studio and they were working on stuff, and there's like being little cryptic hints from Michel with like, not cryptic, even just him like showing VO booths and stuff like that. So it does make sense. I'm intrigued by what Philip Bache is doing in terms of like, is he doing performance capture with them? Is he doing like body mocap with them? What kind of extent are they doing this project with? Because it's like the first Life is Strange, the second Life is Strange were both motion capture, but not full body performance capture. So they did, obviously, Luke, it was obviously Michel and I believe Raoul Barbet, who were mainly down the mocap studio sets with the actors doing performance capture. And then Philip Bache did the VO work with the actors in there. But obviously,
we did see one picture from the new studio that it did look like a motion capture studio. It was that first photo that we looked at where they were like, oh, we're looking at different artists and all that, and it looked like a mocap studio.
Yeah, so what I'm wondering though is it performance capture or motion capture? So is it like with full body so you can see their faces and stuff like doing it? Because like it was just below the head with the first two Life is Strange games and even BTS. So it's like I'm not sure like what kind of like what they're doing with this. Are they like Phil Bache has got experience like doing film work etc. outside of VO booth work. So are they actually going full performance capture? So there's quite a few questions to ask. It's quite nice that they're working with Phil Bache again because obviously they know Phil for so long, and all the actors pretty much I ever spoke to, and especially like with Gonzalo when he was working with on Sean Diaz, it's like he had so much admiration for working with Philip Bache and then also with Michel, and he was like, and you could see that Michel and Phil got on quite well, just in general senses. It always seemed to be Phil and Michel doing the VO sessions. Like Michel was on the kind of like Skype calls. Skype calls, Zoom calls, maybe. Who knows? Like it feels like we're dating saying Skype calls. But yeah, it seems like naturally. I think it's not necessarily like I think it's just better to stick with what you know, kind of thing. I think like why would they want to bring in another VO actor if they can work with the one that they've worked with for so long? It's similar to like Deck Nine. Deck Nine always uses Sylvia Gregory for like the casting stuff of like their games. So it's like why would they drift away from that? And the same with the performance captures, but. Yeah, interesting photo nonetheless. It does raise some questions about how far the project's coming along. I think it's much further ahead than we think it is. I really do think it isn't that.
It might be It's a Wrap on the voice acting work, if anything else. Because like, but even then, it's like I feel like it's too early for voice acting work. But we don't know. We don't know. Like we don't know. It's just like there's so many things.
I think the what I've realized after seeing this photo is I scaled back my expectations in the game that they're making because it's not as big as we think it is. Again, it's like it's that same vein of like Life is Strange 1, Oxenfree, Life is Strange 2 kind of like position. It's not AAA. It's not going to be 6 or 7 years out, etc. Blah blah. It's a much smaller scale project. So it's like what you have with your resources, you work with your resources. So I think It's a Wrap was probably that they have done the motion capture. Now I think probably the motion capture is done. Like I don't know what the specifics are. That's why I'm intrigued with. Is like, is it full performance capture? So they're doing both the motion capture and the voice acting at the same time, or are they just doing the performance capture? The motion capture, and then they're doing the voiceover work afterwards. It seems to be the second one because that's what they did with the first two Life is Strange games, and also kind of like aligns with what I've seen with previous stuff where it's like with Michel tweeting pictures of like a VO booth, and then also like them being in the motion capture studio. So it kind of like makes strategic sense with that. And then obviously all the other devs who are there as well, like you have Kathy V, Marion. It's like they're obviously there because it's like they're quite far, into the project now. It's like they're going to have to be there in their own roles, and they're going to have to see what's kind of coming together, because I don't think this project is as far out as I think it is now. I think it's quite. I think it's probably like maybe. I'd probably say I'd be bold enough to say it's about 75% complete now.
Do you think? And today's the day. You know what? Wait, hold on. Today is it's a second day of Gamescom.
Yeah.
And Luke and Michel are at Gamescom.
Is he actually at Gamescom, Luke?
Yeah, I saw him X tweet, or I saw the mention that, or no, only Don't Nod, I believe. Don't
Nod is at Gamescom right now. So Jusan
I
is
thought
at
Luke said he was like, but I guess not. No, he wasn't.
So I'm going borderline stalkish level here. Don't Nod is at Gamescom right now, and they've been doing stuff for Jusan, and then also one of the other topics, the Studio Tolima game, which they've been talking about. They've been doing interviews there.
Did you see, by the way, Don't Nod tweeted out a picture on our way to Gamescom, and they showed a picture. Officially, Don't Nod showed a picture of Hot Dog Man in the train.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does this mean? Like, I don't think it means anything, though. Like,
it's nothing.
On the real, it doesn't mean anything. I think they're just being cute,
Yeah, I saw all the replies, and people are freaking out like a new Life is Strange game. It's like, no, it's not that. Maybe that's Luke's Hot Dog Man. Who knows?
That's what I mean. I was like, what if Luke is there? I don't know.
I don't think he's there, because last time I saw there was a cupcake that he posted with Nod Montreal on it, a sticker. Like, it was like, and I was like, surely he must be still being in Canada. Or it's like he's been very cryptically like flown out. I don't think they'll take Gamescom as the stage, and I think the Game Awards are still coming later this year. Yes. I think that's the kind of first date where I see potentially a reveal or something with this game. I don't think they're going to do it at Gamescom. Gamescom was a place where I think was the first Life is Strange announced at Gamescom. I think maybe it was. Yes. I think there was a presence there. I remember with the first game, Life is Strange. But I don't think like they will announce it at Gamescom. I think like the other things that Don't Know is preoccupied with, which is Jusan, and then also Tolima's game, which again we'll talk about the next topic. They seem to be more like the kind of focus at the minute. So I don't think they're going to reveal anything else for the time being. I will probably assume that they are going to reveal this game now this year. I have a funny feeling of it. I think the expectations I initially set were much higher than what I thought with this game, in terms of I thought it was a much bigger budget, etc. And I was thinking it's quite further out in the line. I don't think it is now. I think, personally speaking, based on just this photo alone, with the one with Phil and all the other, it's a wrap. I think they're probably about 75% complete in the production stage now of this game. I think we're really close to getting revealed. I think we're really, really close. Like, we will see more, and we'll definitely have more news that we'll be covering before the end of the year. It just seems like things are kind of like are kind of aligned here, and I think the words very quickly of "it's a wrap" kind of says a lot. And it's like Philip Bache has been this is like, where was it now? Luke posted this on a week ago. We're recording the 24th of August. There's been no mention of Phil prior to this. It's like, well, you wouldn't just bring him in all of a sudden and then start saying, "Oh, Philip Bache's in." It's like he's doing this. It's like you've obviously been working with him for quite some time on this project. So I think personally, I think they're quite far ahead into it. Like, because even the job listings as well for Montreal, they're very like not that far in many, if anything. It's kind of like just X role and Y role, and it's kind of like we're working on this. So it's kind of like whatever needs touching up, etc. You can bring people in. It's like they're not heavily studio building at the minute. It's like the people who work there are already there. So yeah, I think it's very exciting now. I think this is kind of like a nice little reference in there, and it's also, as I said, we have all the devs in here as well. I thought it was Juliet in the bottom left. Completely messed that up. Apologies, Kathy, if you're watching this.
Wow.
But yeah, that's Kathy. Well, I think I got everyone there. I think I got everyone there.
Yes, I believe you're right.
We shall see. Have you got anything else to add about this?
I just think that it'll be kind of a rip for us if like they do reveal today at Gamescom. And we're recording this, so
I'll be furious. I'll be absolutely furious if that happens. Furious in a good way. Like, that's just like, that'll be just the icing on the cake. But I'm pretty sure we won't see anything at Gamescom.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put my head out on that. If not, again, this is gonna age very poorly, and we'll have to record something in between it. Anyway, Adam, next topic.
Yes.
This is exciting, this, actually.
Yes.
So Don't Nod announced on the 17th of August a new game. So they put out on a tweet saying, befriend a puppy and embark on a magical adventure together in Koira, not Korea. Koira, our newest upcoming game, developed and hand-drawn by Studio Tolima. Koira is a heartwarming tale of friendship and discovery. So on top of this, and I'm going to Games Reactor, they put the French company Don't Nod has announced the second third-party game that it will be publishing, known as Koira. The title is a hand-drawn adventure game that is being developed by Belgian studio Tolima, and will be looking to tell a story of a forest spirit and its puppy companion as they embark on a musical and magical journey. We're told the game will see the forest spirit relying on the puppy's variety of abilities to overcome challenges and to protect it from danger, and that it will be a 2D title that features an original soundtrack. Game director Ben Lager states, and I quote, Koira is an evocative experience that explores the theme of friendship with a little puppy. Though a thoughtful and minimalistic approach, our story comes to life relying on the powerful combination of expressive hand-drawn graphics and a poignant original soundtrack. The game is our love letter to the medium, and we can't wait to start sharing more details about it, end quote. In terms of launch, all we are told right now is the game is planned for 2025 and will be released at least on PC via Steam.
Man.
So, yes. Start with, do you want me to go? Do you want to talk?
Yeah, go for it. You can go.
So aesthetically, it looks beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Aesthetically, I love it. I like it captured me the minute I watched the kind of like little trailer and the hand. I am a sucker for hand-drawn art. I love hand-drawn art. Even the old school animations of the past, of my lifetime, etc. The hand-drawn stuff is always the best for me, by far.
Which also Oxenfree is hand-drawn.
Exactly, and I still loved it for that as well. I love the fact that it just kept with what it was as well. Like, and I hope that Montreal do the same thing with like Life is Strange 1 and 2 as well, and keep to the hand-drawn look that they do with that. But anyway, Tolima, well, this game as well, Koira, it looks beautiful. It looks really, really nice. Quite far out, which I think at this point, considering how the game looks, I think it's probably more budgeted than Gerda. And again, I'm a bit surprised that they announced it now in 2023 and 2025 is the release.
Like the middle of 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's quite... I think maybe they probably just done it to give it as much marketing as humanly possible for the next year and a bit at least. Like, it must be like something that they're trying to build with marketing. It seems like a higher end game, if anything, not as high end as the in production games at Don't Nod, the ones that they're self publishing themselves as developers and publishers. But it's kind of like they have seem to have rolled a bit more budget at this game just based on the aesthetic of it. It looks a lot more refined.
That's what I mean. It's like it looks. I don't want to say it looks finished because we don't know what the real state of the game is. Like this is just a trailer that they developed. But to say that we got this game, it's coming out. Oh, speaking of puppy, my puppy's leaving. Bye.
Oh.
See ya. But yeah, so it's just wild to me that like a game that looks the way it looks right now is just saying here's our new game in over a year. I'm like, what? That's wild. But okay, sure. I mean, we don't know what the actual state is of this game.
Yeah, I think it's quite far out still. I think because of the hand-drawn aesthetic, it makes the game look like it's more further towards finish line. I probably think it's quite early doors, if anything. Yeah. So, in itself, quite a while away. It seems like obviously again the emphasis on the music and the kind of like the storytelling they're going to be doing the game very much similar to the Don't Nod ethos of like poignant stories. A dog seems to be Don't Nod's kind of thing as well. Love dogs, even though some of them they kill and sometimes they keep them there. But no, I'm excited for it. I don't have much else to add to it. Like again, it's only Don't Nod's second independently independently published game that they're doing outside of like Twin Mirror. So obviously Gerda was the first one that they did with Portal Play, which is now Skybird, is it? Skybird Island or something? Something like that.
Yeah, Bird Island, I believe.
Skybird Island. Bird Island that they did with them. formerly known as Porter Play, and then also now with Tolima. We've known for a while that Tolima is the next game that we're going to publish with from an outside studio, and it's now being revealed. So in all, we've got quite a lot. So it's like for the minute. So just off the games that we have from Don't Nod, we know about Jusant. We know about what's the other game called now? Oh my god, Harmony. So we know about Jusant. We know about Harmony. We know about Tolima's game. We've known about Gerda. There are 2 games now that we still don't have names for. That is the Montreal game, and there's another one.
Yes.
So there's 6 games. 6 games that had in the pipeline up to 2025.
Yes. Was this one of the logos? I'm assuming
it must have been.
Yeah. So like, Don't Nod. Oh, let me put in the real name, not all one word, because Don't Nod teases games in logo trailer. Let's see. Okay. So we got videotape. We got that one's Banishers. There's one with Falling Stars.
That one's not been revealed.
Yeah.
No,
so that one hasn't been.
So those 2 games for reference. Ooh.
Yeah, and then
the bottom 2.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't seen that. Of course, we know the. Also, which one is the Green Mist? There's some Green Mist one, and I feel like we got a reveal for that. Could this? No, I don't know what that is. That one, of course, is Harmony. Yeah, there's like a Green Mist one before, right before Harmony. Then we got Jusant, and then we got Gerda with This Is a Snow, and that's it. So I don't think we have a reveal for Koira in this.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't tweet the logo either. They usually kind of came clean about it afterwards.
It's true. The Falling Stars and the Green
Banishers
Mist
is one.
Well, yeah, Banishers is the one after the videotape. So there's Banishers there, and then there's a Falling Star one, and then there's one that has green mist over a planet. Looks like that we haven't gotten revealed yet. None of these look like Koira.
So that will be the other one then. Then it'll be the Green Mist one, and it'll be the videotape, which will be the 2 games that haven't been officially revealed.
So wait, what's the Falling Stars one then? Yeah, there's 3. I don't think Koira was part of this logo drop.
Well, surely it must have been, because Fingy was part of it. Gerda.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like, I don't know which one this would be, because like it doesn't really fit the aesthetic of any of it. If anything, it's.
Or was the Tolima partnership announced after the rebrand that they did and everything?
I think it was after. Yeah. So there's still 3 games we don't know about. Or the title, anyway.
They always said that their pipeline had 6 games leading up to 2025. And this is obviously, that's tacked on for 2025 Tolima now. So it's like, Tolima's
anything, this might be the Falling... Yeah, if anything, this might be the Falling Stars one then, or the Green Mist. I don't know. It's so wild.
Yeah, it's quite
like I don't think it matches any of these aesthetics, because again, the videotape, of course, is Montreal. The second one is Banishers, the Falling Stars, the Green Mist. Then you got Harmony, and then you got Jusant. Then you got Gerda, and then that's it.
So it's about February. I was having a look. It's about February 2022. They announced their partnership with Tolima around that time.
And this came out May 31st, 2022.
So it's one of them. It's got to be one of them then. I don't know which one it is, but it's going to be one of them. I don't know which one it is though, but it's going to be one of those now. The logos.
I'm going to say it's the Falling Stars. That's the one that best matches the aesthetic.
It seems like it.
Yeah, but anything else, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would probably be wise to say it. There's obviously, like, as I said, there's going to be 2 left now. Like we know, the rest of them now. There's no, from what I can tell, they were very clear about being six games in the pipeline. Oscar Gobel was like, we have 6 games in the pipeline up to 2025. and it's like these games are going to start coming out and being in production, developed, etc. Blah blah. So either way, this is going to be the latest one. So the next one for me will probably be revealed by the end of the year.
Yes,
because
yeah,
these are games that are all coming out within the timeline of things. I think maybe Montreal's game comes out next year now.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's pretty much now tacked on. I think the other game that we don't know about will be 2025 as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think like that's personally what I think at the minute. But yeah, it's quite interesting that you do type in Don't Nod logo on Google Images and scroll down. You do see I want to play one versus the world's videos quite far down. It's very good.
Nice,
very good pick up that for at least us. But yeah, as I said, nonetheless, very excited for Tolima's game. It looks quite nice. I want to keep an eye on it, and yeah, we'll keep on top of this as well. Adam, anything else?
Nothing from me.
No. Okay. So we will move on to our next piece of news. Just a little bit of news. Sent the entire Reddit forum into like a frenzy, but as you are. So we are once again referring back to Michel, who we talked about before in the Montreal section, because Michel is now making the news on our podcast again. So this was on the Life is Strange Reddit page. Someone screenshotted a Fred's post, which was from a user called WFZX8, and they put, "Is Kate Marsh alive?" ? Because the storm is far from the hospital, and they tagged Michel. And Michel's tag is Mimuzu, which I wonder what the reference is for that. Mimezu?
Yeah, Mimezu. Some kind of.
I would like to know what I'd like to know what the reference is for that. There's
It might be like Mimezu, like because it's French, and they probably have in France probably zoos full of mimes. I'm guessing.
Or Mr. Mime is his favorite Pokemon, which would also be a very good turn of events. But
Mr. Mime is canonically French.
Exactly, but I think yours is probably more. Well, Mr. Mime is very French stereotypical as well. So
I know.
I like your explanation a bit more for what maybe his handle is. But either way, Michel responded and he put, "We never said it, but I'm pretty sure it should be the case."
Yes.
So people are like almost assuming this is canon. I thought this was just quite a nice little topic to do here, because like again we have like a lot of things that happen after Life is Strange 1. There's no definitive ending. There's no canon that's ever really been established. It's always been very much whichever choice you take is kind of like dictates other games or different mediums, etc. But the kind of idea is that like a lot of characters' fates are kind of like left no clear direction on what happens to them. But with Kate Marsh, but the thing is though, is she in the hospital? Is she dead in your game?
Is she in the hospital? I was going to say, like in your playthrough in the canon, does she survive? And I think that's the real question. Is like, is it canon that you save her? And I think, I'm not sure. Well, like you have to say yes, but like, didn't they say before that they, correct me if I'm wrong, they like quick developed a scene with Kate in the hospital because of like how much love like they felt like they saw for Kate Marsh, so they kind of quick developed that's not quick, but they wanted a hospital scene.
I believe so. I believe that is what Day also said as well. I believe that there was a lot of fanfare, so they kind of like introduced a second scene with Kate, because like obviously if you still save her, she goes to the hospital, but there was like no necessary need for the hospital section, because it kind of does feel a little bit disjointed in the actual episode. It's almost like it was added there afterwards. It's kind of like, again, it doesn't affect it, but it's like kind of like it doesn't need to necessarily be there. It's kind of like extra filler stuff. And again, that's not neither a negative nor a positive. I'm just saying it kind of, if it didn't need to be there, it wouldn't have any really negative impact on the story. But yeah, like it pretty much did relate to it because the character very much related to a lot of fans. So they kind of had an opportunity to add a bit of extra, more content in there. But yeah, it's quite interesting that I like when Michel weighs in like little things like this with Life is Strange and gives his perspective, because nothing's definitive. Like I think that they very much intentionally left it the way that they did, and obviously since then
they're still to this date, they're like still not revealing whatever's canon. They're just like, nope, still not going to say. Like that's up to you after all these years.
Yeah, because I think like if you put canon on something, then it causes too much. I think you kind of like ruin the kind of the ethos that you created with the game. Like even with even with like other games I played and very earlier on, but even before this, even like the first Metal Gear, there was never like a canon ending still isn't established from the first game.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's like you can go down different storylines, characters still pair, etc. But there's no definitive tacked on ending, which is this is the definitive ending. You have two different endings with two different characters. It's never definitely established. And the same with like these with Don't Nod as well. I don't think if you ever spoke to Michel or Luke or anyone, they would give you a definitive ending. They'd be like, that's not the entire point of the game. The entire point of the game is choices have consequences. Chaos Fury has Chaos Fury impacts, and whatever else happens is because of choice. And it's driven by choice. So it's like your start to end journey is built on what you've dictated. So I think like for them, you can't just say, oh, well, Kate Marsh is definitely going to be alive, because it's like, hang on a minute, is she alive? If the town has been destroyed, isn't the hospital in the town? You know, you can't start like you start messing with your own. Even like when they did Life is Strange 2, you could see it as well. It's like you could see the town if it was like there, if it was destroyed, etc. Dave Madsen kind of comes in. It depends on like what you did in the first game and how he interacts with you and how he speaks about Chloe and Max, etc. So I think like they've very much intentionally left it that way. So I don't know where we're picking up from here, because I had to cut something out because it's a very spoiler reference. I think I said that, and I don't know where it's going to cut on everything else. But just apologies, because we just had a quick 20-second debate about that, and I don't really want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't played it yet. But I think, yeah, on the point of it, I don't think there's a really good way of making definitive experiences, because if you make something definitive and it doesn't like relay in the other project, actually, I'm not going to make that comparison. I can't do it, because like it was a really good point. It was a really good point. It's just really spoiler heavy, and it's like, oh, frustrating. Nonetheless, I thought we'd bring up this little piece of news. Adam, have you got anything else to add?
Nope, I think we should move on before we get ourselves in trouble again.
Yeah, I feel we're getting big trouble. I don't know how I'm going to make that cut, but let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up with our last piece of news, which will be our only real Life is Strange news. And again, apologies. I know I can see it in some of the views and stuff on the videos that people want Life is Strange content. It will come back. It'll be a major topic. It's just because we've been jumping through all developers' news, and it's been very quiet on Life is Strange front, and we've obviously been covering the Expanse. So it's kind of like coming in and going, but we will bring in a Life is Strange topic for the next episode. I can guarantee that. But this last piece of news will be our Life is Strange piece of news, which is that Don't Nod tweeted on the 22nd of August. Today marks 4 years since the release of Life is Strange 2 Episode 4, Faith, a tough part of the Wolf Brothers' journey where their bond and mutual trust will be put to the test. How do you remember this episode? What a great episode.
I was still working in a church when this episode came out.
Damn.
Yeah.
This was also my final review for Life is Strange I ever did as well. This is the last episode I ever reviewed in the series. So this was a very special moment for me as well. I just kind of think back on it 4 years ago. You're working in church as well. And this episode is like, damn, this one like must have really hit home.
It was pretty heavy. Like I said, like working in a church while this episode was coming out, I was like, not like an uncomfortable way, but I'm just like, it was hitting me because of like, I've seen this happen. Like I've seen like stuff like this happen. Not to say every church was like this, but it's like I've witnessed this kind of thing happen, and I'm like, yeah, they hit the nail on the head essentially. But like even throwing out like physical tactics to get you away from their agenda, it's pretty heavy. But yeah, no, it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, yeah, I was working in a church while this Faith episode came out, so kind of crazy in that way. But yeah, it was a good I didn't like this game when it first came out, but this episode I really loved.
Yeah, he became a believer. Yeah. He became a
believer in terms of faith. Yeah.
It's quite interesting because you played it from that perspective, because like that is a wild perspective to play from, because this one is like is a very, very heavy episode, I think, out of all the 5 from Life is Strange 2. And like this has some of the great moments in it. This is like the great performance from Jolene Anderson as Karen in episode 4. Yes. This has a really great, like, you know, the entire cultist things. It was kind of nice with this episode because like without all the characters that could have come back from the campsite, they chose Jacob, and Jacob necessarily wouldn't be like a fan favorite. Like obviously Cassidy was like kind of like the big one, and then same with Finn, and then like the other characters were like all quite nice and like colorful in their own kind of way. But it's like Jacob seemed like the really quiet one in most parts, and it was like I don't think many people like really thought, oh, don't know would bring him back for another episode and do it, but they did bring him back, and he was a very centric, heavy part of the story for this one, which probably helped with the credence of like what his backstory was. But it was quite kind of nice to have him in here and kind of have him help like Sean and do what needs to be done with this episode. But it was a wild episode though. The acting performances were like 10 out of 10, and that's outside of Jolene as well. Like Gonzalo Martin and Roman George, etc. They all were great with this performance. Like even the entire church scene and everything in between it. It's just
yeah,
it's quite great.
No, it was definitely a fascinating episode to watch. I kind of wish there was more of a consequence with the trucker scene than anything else. Like, there's not really a consequence whether you take it or not. But like when I first played this game, I was like, I'm not getting in that truck, no way. Like, absolutely not. But then my second playthrough, I got into the truck. It's like, oh, here's a sandwich. Take a little nap. And I'm like, oh, well, okay then. It's like, but you know, that's the only fault that I have with this episode. But everything else was perfect.
Yeah, it was a deeply uncomfortable scene, that, wasn't it? With the with the truckers, like, it's a really deeply uncomfortable scene. I feel like I should stop trusting people with trucks as well. It gives me that Walking Dead 400-day vibes. Do when you get in the truck?
Well,
with
that's
that
what
guy.
I mean, though. It's like I didn't get in the truck at first because I was like, "What if this guy is weird to me?" But like, no. In the end, like you get into the truck to get to the church, and he's just like, "Yeah, take a nap. Here's a sandwich my wife made me." It's like, num num num. I'm like, okay. But yeah, like the one with I didn't get into the truck because of the desert scene, you know, where he makes you sing like in your native language, quote unquote, and it's just like, but now I'm just like, oh, I won't get in the truck then. But I guess that's the whole point of that. It's just like, I guess that's the point where Michel is kind of like saying like, not everybody's going to be awful to you. So maybe that's the point, that like you distrust people, so you don't take a good Samaritan's actual thing. Okay, so maybe it is a good. So never mind, it's perfect.
Yeah, Life is Strange was like it's hard to know if the game aged as well as it did. That's the thing for me as well. It's very much a game that is stuck in its time now.
Yes,
and it's like you have to really like manifest, and like they were very politically and socially charged on a lot of the topics. And I always see like when people say like I don't like Life is Strange, I get it. So I never really had like a fight of like, oh, you don't understand the game and you don't do this. I get it. I've always said this. It's like I understand why people don't like it, because it's a very, very different experience from like the first Life is Strange from BTS, even True Colors as well. After that as well, but like in an experience for the fourth episode, it was just a phenomenal like episode. Like it was one of the very strong ones. Like there's always that kind of like reoccurring theme where the fourth episode seems to be quite strong, and this was a very strong one. Personally, I think like the third episode was my favorite in Life is Strange 2, but I really enjoyed the fourth one. And as I said, those performances were great. Like those scenes, like those are some of my most memorable scenes. Like I love Jolene's performance as Karen, and I love that scene where they're sitting outside the is it the motel? It's like a little motel.
Yes,
they're in.
It's like a little
And
motel.
Like,
yeah,
it's like a little motel. I'm not very good in the American lingo, but like it's like a little motel, and it's like she's having that cigarette, and she's with Sean, and they're both sitting in the chair, and she has this kind of moment where she's like, she's like, I'm not going to apologize for who I am and what I did, but she's like, and I can't be your mum, and she's like, I'm not going to lie to you, but she's like, I can be your friend. And I'm like, oh, like, this woman is like wonderfully written. I'm like, this character is so wonderfully written, and it's like you just have this kind of really great relationship that you build with her through with Sean, and it's like you just things align really well, and it's kind of like the trials and tribulations of Sean Diaz in that episode, where it's like up and down and up and down and up and down. It's like this guy is like going through hell, and it's like everything that else happens, and yeah, it's just quite the experience. I love that. How do you feel about Roman's outfit when he's in the church as well? Was that very church on point as well?
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. It was. Everything was just like on point with the culture of like some of those places. Yeah.
Do you feel differently now because you're not in the church?
Feel differently about this episode, or
just in general? Because you played it once when you were in the church, and then once without it after, like when we started doing the podcast and stuff. How different are the experiences?
Like that's the thing, is like playing it outside of churches is kind of like because I still have some of those like experiences, some of those witnesses, it's just kind of like it still like brings me back. So I don't know. I don't like playing this episode too much just because like I don't like living in that like knowing that's really out there. Like all that stuff
Mhm.
is like that's real, dude. And I don't like thinking about that. But I think we should be thinking about it because there are places that take advantage of the religion,
Mhm.
and like they don't really follow to that religion. I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into this, but yeah, no, it's yeah, it still hits the same. Yeah, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's a very difficult episode to stomach in parts. It's like a very
It is, yeah.
very poignant with a lot of its themes. So yeah, I completely understand with that. But
Hmm.
yeah, that'll be the sort of topic. Should we move into our main topic or news piece? Sorry,
Let's
from the
do it.
main. Cool. So
Yeah.
as I said, this will probably be a shorter episode anyway, but we're going to go back to the Expanse again,
Yeah.
which, as I said to you as well, the last episode you can watch with Erica Mori, who was additional motion capture for Comedian Drummer, as also Life is Strange True Color star, BAFTA nominated, Alex Chen herself, so you can go and check that out, and I would 100% recommend you check it out because it's a very much great, fun episode to watch. But we decided to basically do another kind of like review of The Expanse. We're going to do episode 2. Technically, episode 3 is out today, where we're at. We've
Episode
had our own
3.
episode
Yeah.
3. Sorry, episode 3 is out today. We were meant. I was hoping that we'd do episode 3 and 2 today, but at the same time, it's like we've had loads of different issues, and we're just going to generally talk about episode 2, and then in general how we feel about The Expanse so far. Because I have very mixed feelings, and that also includes why I've not been able to play it prior to us recording. Because we're recording the 24th of August. So Adam, episode 2, The Expanse came out. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
I think you have more opinions than I do, I think. So,
Yeah. I thought this was a very underwhelming episode. Very
yeah.
underwhelming. After what I thought was a strong opener, which you could kind of be like forgived for in terms of like the pacing, this was just a little bit on the dry side of my personal opinion.
Mm.
Like not much really happens in the episode. Like not really much happens at all really in the episode. Again, it's very short. It's like this is now again like a 1 hour experience. Something I feel like this seems to be the tone of it. So I think like collectively when you play it once it comes out at launch, you might be happy with it. But at the minute, it's kind of like waiting every 2 weeks for a 1 hour experience, if that. And that's obviously
Yeah.
it's more longer if you're drifting around in space and floating around looking for miscellaneous items. Then yeah. But generally speaking, yeah, I was kind of like really underwhelmed by the episode because there was some like one thing I have an issue with, and it said this as well. There was so many people, and I don't know. Do we do spoilers? Do we not do spoilers?
On episode 2, let's just give a quick spoiler warning. Yeah, like we're gonna spoil it.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, we're going to move into spoiler territory. Watch at your own discretion at this point. Actually, you know what, Adam, as well. I'll do it like light-hearted spoilers, if anything. It's not like intense. I won't do like
Yeah.
big key story points. One of the things that happened with early on is like there's a side objective where you have to look for medicine for a
Mm-hmm.
character. The problem with this game is, and when they give you side missions, there's no objective marker to go towards, or even kind of an inkling of where you'll find random object for side mission. So in the first mission you did in the first game, you missed the side objective because it's like in a
Yes.
really obscure place that you basically have to float to it and then get it. And I got it because I was basically exploring for ages. And it's the same with this episode. Like this is one that I looked basically for better part of like maybe 20 minutes in the first area. That is the main area of the entire episode as well. And I couldn't find it. And then I decided to play it again and whilst I was doing the collectible run and kind of getting things. It was basically tacked on this medicine underneath this panel where you just basically float upside down and you can grab it. I'm like, why is it there? I'm like, why is it? There's no logic for it to be that. Like at some point in the entire episode, you go through like a little medical facility and stuff, and the medicine's not there. Instead, you pick up another item for another side objective. And I'm like, hang on a minute. It's like I got that one, and then when I got to the end of the episode, I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute, did I miss the medicine for this character? It's like, actually, I did. How did that come
Yeah.
about? That makes no sense at all.
Yeah, usually in other games, like you'll at least have like this is the area that it could be in, like, but there's no indication. Okay, see you later, buddy. But yeah, there's like no indication of it's like it's in this area. But yeah, that's one of the most frustrating parts. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like at least give you like a general vicinity where you're looking for something. That would be helpful. But it doesn't seem to do that this episode. It's like or even at any point in the Expanse, it's kind of like just there's a side objective, and it's like, hang on a minute, but where are we going? It's like, well, am I going to find something here? It's like there's no kind of like clear cut direction on it. So it was just a bit difficult in that. And then in itself, like I really enjoyed. There's one scene in the entire episode with like you get big exposition on Khan. And it also carries over the item as well. You can carry an item over from the first episode. But you get big exposition in Khan. I love Khan. Khan is a great character. It would have been very interesting to see Erica Mori as Khan if she'd got that. That would have been quite the performance. But like Khan is great. I love Khan. It's like when you have more time with that's great. But ultimately, because what happens by the end of the episode, the major choice compared to the first episode, and by the way, now we will go into spoilers as well here. I'm going to take it into full spoiler territory, so feel free to skip just straight to spread the arts, or if you want to do it, watch your own discretion, or skip 10 minutes ahead. Do as you please. The problem is with the first episode, the main choices you had was someone loses their leg, or they don't lose their leg, and 2 was send Cox out of the air duct or keep him in the air duct. With this one, it's basically either you have sex with Maya or you don't have sex with Maya. I'm like, what is that for a major choice? I'm like, come on. I'm like, okay, I get it. She like kind of builds up and she's like, you know, people will talk about it on the Artemis and etc. And I'm like, is it really that deep? I'm like, like because even Telltale,
I could see that being one of the choices, but to be the main decision,
it's just not a main decision. Even because Telltale have done this in the past. In the season 4 run of The Walking Dead, you have a love interest choice between Violet and the other guy. I can't remember what the other guy's called. In The Walking Dead season 4, Violet and the curly haired guy, you can have an option to have a love interest. But is it Marlon? Marlon, I think it might be.
That sounds right.
Or Marlon,
I can't remember.
I think it's Marlon. You can basically have an option to have a love interest with them, but it's never a major choice. It's not the dun dun, and it's like, you know, it's like a make or break choice. This was truly the make or break choice, which was either sleep with this woman or don't sleep with her. And I'm like, really? I'm like, really? Is this what your main choice is the entire episode? Like the last one, I had one where it's either send the guy out the air duct or keep him in there. It's like you're now making this the main choice.
Yeah.
Very. I
like that choice a little bit better because of the help he can provide later on, because we've already established that your playthrough you sent Cox out into space. I've kept him. So it's just kind of like it's like the Cox that we keep, you know. And it's like that kind of choice where it's just like, do you keep this man alive to give you directions, or do you send him out because he's a detriment? You know, that I can get behind. But the choice of just like sleep with her or don't sleep with her, I didn't. I was like, I'm gonna go to bed. Like, no. Like I'm not about this. Adnan, what was your choice? What was your?
I went straight into that fucking room. Oh god, I swore. That's the Erica Mori as well. Oh god,
you're just like, this isn't a choice. This is a real choice. I'm gonna go in there.
I'm gonna have to bleep that out now. God damn it. Yes, I went straight into a room. And I was like, yeah, cool. Let's see how this love interest kind of plays out. It's just it's just a little bit underwhelming overall.
Yeah,
I think like that was my issue with it. Like, were there any other moments that you really enjoyed in it? And I'm gonna let you talk because I need to let my cat in. So if you want to give me any of your favorite moments, please do.
I'm kind of looking forward to episode 3. Me and Adnan have not played it yet, and I'll let Adnan say why he hasn't played it. We're recording this on Thursday morning, so right after this episode, I'm gonna start playing episode 3, and I'll let Adnan explain why he hasn't. He has a deluxe edition on PlayStation. But for me, I like the playthrough of the lasers, like all the robots, like, and you have to like float through the lasers. I like that aspect. But for the most part, there wasn't anything memorable just yet. And I remember Adam and I were gonna discuss like a spoiler review of The Expanse. And after episode 1, I was like, I need a second episode to like really dive deep into these characters, know where the story is going. This episode 1 was really short, and then episode 2 does the same thing. It's like really short. I didn't get really enough time with these characters, and it was just like, I want to know more about these characters, but there's not enough time with them. So it's just like one of those things of like, I need to see this game as a whole, and I kind of wish this wasn't episodic. I really wish this was Life is Strange True Colors where there's chapters instead of episodes, because if we're gonna be this short, I want it all collective then, you know. But Adnan, I said that for me, I haven't played this because I bought the deluxe edition on Xbox. Xbox has told me that I have the deluxe edition, but there's no 24 hours early access for me, no sir. But you're on PlayStation. You have a deluxe edition. Why didn't you play it?
So by merit, I have the deluxe edition. This is like summed up why I feel so like frustrated and kind of like torn about things as well. In general, like I spent like the better part of 20 minutes talking to Sony before I even came on this podcast, because apparently I had purchased the deluxe edition of the Expanse, but received the standard edition instead. So I got none of the benefits. I don't get the extra 24-hour early access. I don't get the bonus episode. And it's like, hang on a minute, you charged me more for it as well. So I've currently asked for a refund from Sony because I'm like, I want my money back now because the deluxe edition is even cheaper. It's like, what is even going on here? So that is the reason why I have not played episode 3. It's quite frustrating because like you even asked Erica Mori about how she felt about the second episode having like technical issues here and there, which I thought was very brave, all things considering.
I am a brave individual.
Yeah, you are very brave to say that like to her, but like I was I understand why people were so frustrated with the second episode, the way it launched, and then also like when you said about, I think what you said before as well about episodic games, it should have been chapter based. I think episodic gaming is dead now with this. I
just
think
give my thing. The deluxe edition has not changed on Xbox on mine.
Oh,
it's still $45 US.
Damn.
On yeah, so it might have changed for PlayStation, which now I'm gonna look that up. Hold on,
it's a bit cheaper on PlayStation now for me at least.
Let me just check that. I believe you, but I want to see the US dollar amount. Oh no, it's still $45 US on PlayStation. Yeah.
Damn.
You Brits have it much better, much better. Yeah.
So,
but yeah, you were saying that I'm very brave. Yes, continue.
Yeah, you were very brave for saying that to her, but also in terms of the episodic thing you said as well. I think like episodic.
Oh no, yeah, we're good. But you were saying that episodic game is.
Yeah, I think like episodic gaming is dead now.
Yes,
I think like this is the end of I think this shows it as well. Like if you aren't producing 2 or 3 hour long episodes, I think that now it's kind of like it's gone at this point as a genre and as a kind of way of releasing episodes. I just don't think it's going to work because like the adventures are too small in each episode. So it's like, as I said, if you get rid of all the mundane kind of like floating through the sky, if you don't want to do it, it's not much meat on the bone at that point. And that's the unfortunate part. Like they could have easily done more content in terms of like scenes where it's just you and other characters. Like you have a bit of time with a character here and there, and you kind of get more exposition with Virgil in the second episode, but not enough with like terms of like those scenes where it's like we can't. It's like you could easily have done like a 10-minute scene with Khan in the first episode and just filled an extra kind of bit of weight of the game. But it's like they aren't as consistent across the episodes with like a lot of characters who are sitting down with each other, kind of splashing out stories, etc. So that's my difficulty with the Expanse at the minute. Cause it's like it's ultimately tied where it's like they should have just released it like Life is Strange True Colors, released it as chapters, and you can just play the chapter as you want to go with it. Because at this point, you're kind of just releasing episodic games under the guise of episodic games, which what Telltale was very much revered for, but they're very very short experiences.
Yes.
And this game as well, like this game was like built during the revival of Telltale, of this new revival of Telltale, and it's like I'm still answering that question. Like, is this a Deck 9 game or is it a Telltale game? Or is it a both game, or is it like who's like got the more of the kind of like name baggage on it?
I think we're gonna see Telltale, like really Telltale, once Wolf Among Us 2 comes out. I think that's what we'll see. In your statement of episodic games are dead, I think we're gonna really see that with Wolf Among Us 2, because really the episodic games that Deck 9 has given us was Before the Storm. And then True Colors was chapters. So like we haven't really seen a true to life episodic game really since Life is Strange 2. I don't think we have. Scratch that, because season 4 of Walking Dead came out after Life is Strange 2. Yeah, it came out after.
But that was a bit of a mess though, wasn't it?
That was a bit of a mess. Yeah. Like that's the thing. We haven't really seen it since then. And that's really Telltale's fault. So I don't know. Like we don't really know if episodic gaming is dead because we're coming from a studio that has released a 3-game episode and then they went to a chapter based. And now the next thing we're going to see is a true to life episodic game being Wolf Among Us 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I need more data to know if like
Well, who else is making episodic games though?
That's
Who
what
else
I
is
mean
making
though.
them?
No
Like,
one's wanting to touch them.
Like no one's really touched them. Like the only people who really touched them was like Don't Nod did it with like the Life is Strange games, and then also Square Deck Nine did it at Kate with one offing with Before the Storm, and then you kind of had like mainly Telltale doing it with like all these different franchises they were doing with episodic games. You had like the occasional one with like you had that weird kind of era where Square Enix was dividing games as well. Was that Hitman that was episodic? That became episodic all of a sudden, and then Capcom did it with like Resident Evil as well. It was like, why are you releasing this game once you fully made it and then started making it episodes?
Resident Evil Revelations, that was a banger. That was actually a banger.
Yeah, but it's still weird though, the entire concept. Like, why don't you just release the game?
Yeah.
It's like the game's built. It's not even like I think I remember because I didn't play it, but people said it's like it finished at weird points. Because it wasn't episodic structure, because it's like it just finished abruptly. It's like, hang on a minute. It's like, so you're not actually built with the episode. Like, look at what the Don't Nod team did with Life is Strange 1 and 2. It was built episodically. It has chapters. It has start, middle, and end points. It's very logically built. But with like Capcom, it was kind of like, oh, everyone loved episodic gaming. We'll just split Resident Evil apart and make it episodic. It's like, hang on a minute. So is it what really people want? But like they did it. And then the only other studio I remember that did it outside of them lot and did it properly episodic was Big Bad Wolf for the Council, which I again will recommend because the Council's a banger and Adam loves the Council as well. But anyway, like generally speaking, like they're the games that do it. So like since then, nothing else has really happened. This is the first quote unquote proper, fully fledged episodic outing. Even Tell Me Why was kind of like a bit of a weird kind of outing of like episodic games. It was almost like that could have been chapter based, if anything.
Yes,
I think naturally, I think the episodic game has now evolved into the chapter system at this point, and whether that's like kind of fully released at the same time with chapters or basically separately released as chapters, the verdict's out on that.
I'm also trying to like look up if somebody. Yeah, I thought this was another great episode. I definitely think it was a bit on the shorter side again. So it looks like episode 3 will also be another like short. You can get through this one in 30 to 40 minutes, a Reddit user saying for 3 episodes. The third episode is only like 30 to 40 minutes, which I remember I told you in episode 2 before you played it. It's like I beat it in about an hour, and that was with dying twice with the laser people and taking a Twitter break. And that was an hour.
A Twitter break as well.
Yeah,
that's quite. Yeah, it was like I remember because it's like it's very like linear objectives. It's like 2 objectives in like the main area of the first game. Then you go into the other ship. You do the objectives on that. Bang, straight back into the main ship. Game done at that point. So it's very like straight to the point where it's like almost like you know where it's clockwork, where it's going to start and end. So if like the third episode's like that, I'm kind of a little bit again like now just expecting like it's going to pretty much be like almost hour each episode, and then it's like collectively it's a 5-hour experience, 6 including the bonus episode.
That's what I mean. So I think this game will age nicely because it's a good sell. Like it's a 5-hour game with multiple endings. Hopefully multiple endings. Hopefully. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know if there's like multiple endings or not, but it has to be with all these choices. But it's just kind of like we are going to see how well this game will age. Like once we get to episode 5 and we play it, and it's going to be like, is this game going to age well? And I think right now, I think it will. But for right now, it's just kind of like a bit messy. It's like this wasn't revealed to us in the right way, and it's disappointing because this is the first Telltale game we're getting, and the episodes 4. Are not 2 hours long. They're not 2-3 hours long. They're just 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. It's like it's a little disappointing.
They don't have the wait for it to kind of do. Like they should just basically, if it's going to age well, because like when you have all 5 episodes you can play, it's like, oh, actually this was fun. But the problem is every reviewer is going to make the same comment where it's like the episodes are too short, and it's going to affect you because it's like even now it's like I'm excited to play the Expanse episode 3, but at the same time I'm like I'm waiting 2 weeks every week in between it, and my interest is like going into different things. Like I played Yakuza 2 in between it, so it's like my interest is moving towards something else, just like gravitating slowly away from the Expanse, and no pun intended with the gravitating part, but like, it's kind of like that's how I feel at the minute. So I feel like it's a bit of an issue because it's like something that's kind of given me a little bit of concern with how they handle the Wolf Among Us 2, how they do that, because it's like that will be the definitive stamp of like where we stand with
I
episodic
think
game.
so.
I've kind of stood at where I think I've at now. I think I'm pretty much on with it as well, where it's like it's going to be chapter based now, if anything. Chapter based with like a couple of like weeks in between if they want to spread episodes out. But like the old school episodic format is dead, don't know. And it's a shame as well, because if you're going to release games that way, you have to have them at least 2 or 3 hours long minimum.
And they're still saying that Wolf Among Us 2 is still going to come out this year. So, nope, sorry, 2024. Okay, it was delayed to 2024. That's my bad. Telltale announced the game will be delayed to 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there now was a delay on it, so I'm still like excited. I want to see what the third episode is. I'm hoping it's a bit more meat on the bone this time. It's like with 3 episodes in at that point, something has to happen with Kamina Drummer's story and be like a bit more intense, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's our conversation for episode 2, and it's very short as the episode is itself.
As the episode is itself, it's just like I think this game will age well, though. I do think that because there's a lot of good gameplay to this. I love the gameplay. I love the anti-gravity. I love the story. I love the characters. I just want to have more time with them.
That's the issue ultimately where it's coming to. I agree with you fully, because I love the zero gravity. It's a lot of fun. I like the kind of characters I've met. I'm intrigued to watch The Expanse because I've played this as well. I like Kamina Drummer. I love Kamina Drummer. I love Khan. I love some of these characters. They're great.
I love Karaji and her Twitter responses.
Yeah, that was quite that was not on my bucket list of 2023 of getting responses on Twitter. That was a very interesting response. The funny part is, it's like she basically sent like an emoji, which you can see on Twitter if you want to go look at it.
A little vegetable squash, if you will.
In response to Erica Mori's interview with us. And I just remember thinking, I said to Adam, I was like, am I thinking too deep on this? I'm like, what is the meaning of this? Is like, have I like missed? Is there like a vegetable in the Expanse or something? And he's like, no, it's like
No.
it's a different thing. I was like, and then the performance director Zachary Andrews was responded with a lot, and he's like, I get it now. I do get it a bit more. No, generally speaking, though, the Expanse is a good kind of. I'm so confused with it at the minute. I feel confused every time I play a chapter, an episode, because it's like when you said we can't review each episode. It's just not the same way of doing it because it's such a different game. I'm still trying. I'm still deciding here, thinking like, is this a Telltale game or is this a Deck 9 game? Is this a Deck 9 game with the exoskeleton of a Telltale game? Whatever they used to do with that. It's like what I'm kind of flip flopping in between it. So it's a difficult one to kind of like ultimately decide on at the minute. So yeah, we'll stay on top of it. We'll bring back the episode 3 kind of review in the next episode, and I think we'll have a proper more Life is Strange topic in between us to kind of weigh it out. Yeah, anything else to add?
No.
Yeah, it's a very much a shorter episode. This, as I said, there's not much that's happened, so it's kind of like hopefully next month better things come along, and other Life is Strange topics as well we can figure out. If you do have any topics, let us know in the comments. We can happily cover them. Adam, Spread the Arts, that comes back this week. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I watched a good amount and I played a good amount. I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom right now, but I'm not going to put that on my Spread of the Arts. Man, I am watching a good amount and I'm trying to like just pick one. You know what? Man, what have I done? I don't know. This is one that I'm just like, oh man, because again, I'm heavily working on a new EP, so it's like whenever crunch time comes in, like everything becomes a blur. So, why don't you go first and let me just think about that.
So I'll probably surprise you here.
Okay.
So I've been feeling very mixed about things. So I've been spending my time in the last couple of weeks listening to Taylor Swift's music, her remastered works. So I've been listening to Taylor's versions of songs, and just to admit it very much quietly here, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan at times. Very much the earlier works as well. Like the first couple of albums, I was a very big fan, and then fell off a little bit. But I've kind of like come in tune with her again now because she's been doing her remasters, which have been.
You just made me think about what I'm gonna but go for it. You just made
Well,
me
I'm
think
glad
about
that
it.
I'm glad that Taylor Swift has served the inspiration for this segment. But no, so I've been
Yes.
listening to Taylor's versions. I've been listening to "Fearless," which is her breakthrough album, her second album after Taylor Swift, which was her self-titled album, I believe. And I don't know how I really feel about what she's doing with her project. I get it though. I get it because like the license she got, like her entire thing, was it with Big Machine Record or something? The company that she used to work with for her license of her 6
Mm.
albums, and then also her battle with Scooter Braun. I get it why she's doing like where she wanted the licenses back for her music and why she's like remastering them. But the problem is she's not the same musician as she once was. So like you have to remember like Fearless, which is like her second album. I believe she was like 16, 18 at the time, around about that age. She's now
About
33. She's like now
yeah.
33. So she's like, even when you like listen to what, like, for example, the song I was listening to before we even came on here, like Love Story, it's a very country / pop infused song. Like that was very early Taylor Swift where she was very much country. And then like, you know, she had that entire like thing with people saying, oh, she sold out country and she's gone into pop and stuff like that. Love Story is almost like pop song in that remaster. It's like proper, like it's
Yeah.
kind of got rid of the full on acoustic kind of instrument style guitar that was seen in country music. Her voice has heavily changed since then as well. She's not as young. And like Love Story and all these songs that she wrote are very much reflections of the time she wrote them. So it's like she's a
Mm.
different Taylor Swift every time she writes a song. So it's like when she's singing something like Love Story or she's singing something like Mine, for example, they were different parts of her life at different stages, and the woman she is now isn't the woman she's singing as. So it's like it's a very weird thing that I've got with the feeling of like her doing this with her music and remastering them and then listening to the songs. Like I can't get over the fact that I've like listened to Love Story in this one, which is the original version, and then listened to Love Story's Taylor version. I'm like, and I feel like the entire point is like the reason she's doing it more so is because of the entire feud that she had with Scooter Braun, and also the entire like debacle she had with the masters of each of the 6 albums that they had initially had. So I feel like she's just doing it for that, but it's like it doesn't really add any purpose to the music. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. No,
It's
I
like
understand.
it's like if Tupac Shakur was still alive and he had an entire like spat with Death Row Record, Suge Knight had sold all of his masters off to like P. Diddy, for example, and P. Diddy held them and he got them back, and then he did Tupac's version of like All Eyes on Me or like X. It's such a weird person to pick. But it's like if he did that and he did masters versions, like his voice wouldn't be the same. He wouldn't be the same person. His tracks would sound all different. It's like, what is the purpose here? So I've seen this with like, I even spent a bit of time like reading some reviews of Taylor's versions, and people were saying the same thing. Like reviews are like, obviously these are classics she's done. Like they took her to stardom. They're great songs in themselves, etc. But then they're like, yeah, again, but she's not Taylor Swift anymore. She's not 18, 16-year-old Taylor Swift. She's now 33-year-old Taylor Swift singing these songs remastered. Her voice is different. She's in a different time in her life. And even the remasters are juggling things where I'm a bit like, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about people going back to their music and changing them. I don't know how I feel about even like the main point is that with Taylor Swift, what she's doing, it kind of reminds me of like when George Lucas spent the better part of 30 years remastering New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And there was like 30 years of different variations that we had of those films. Like most people just like to watch the 1970s ones that were released, 1970s to 80s. They're like, we're happy with those. And it's like, then there was like, and here's a remaster, and here's a remaster, and here's another thing. It's like, I'm kind of like keen on watching the Coppola edition of The Godfather Part 3. I love The Godfather Part 3, much to much people's detriment. I like The Godfather Part 3, but I'm like, what even with your edits can you change here, Coppola? It's like, what it was is what it was. It's like, you're kind of going back and starting fiddling with things that you've created. Like, masterpieces are masterpieces. And then on top of that, masterpieces also have flaws in them. And inherently, I think it's very difficult to me to talk to someone. Even I said to Michel, I was like, if you could go back, would you change anything? Life is Strange. Would he? Like, would he really want to go back and change it? Because like, you look at his reaction then to, for example, them making the decision with the remastered collection, and then them having a scene where like Max is crying at the end, and he's like, "But why is she crying?" It's like, why is she crying? It's like you basically obliterated what is not his words, my words. You kind of obliterated the entire point of Max not crying there. She's not meant to cry. She's not in that space. So it's like, as I said, it's very telling with things. It's like it's easy to kind of like you do something and then think, oh, we're going to change it and we're going to do this, kind of like fine tweak it and make it a bit more whatever reason it is. But in itself, like in between all that waffle I said, I just find it very interesting that she's gone back and done the masters. Like obviously, like her fans are loving it and people are loving it and stuff like that. But it's a very interesting choice to do and especially specifically with her music.
Hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from because like it is a different time. I even think about like some like of course my first EP, like I totally want to remaster that, but it's like it's also a time capsule of where I was in that time, but I'm also not going through a legal battle of myself. So it's like,
Yeah.
if Spotify were to take down Essence of Life, with the great Kylie Brown, um like I don't know, maybe I would remaster it, but just like I don't know, I like it where it is because that's the place I was at that time, and that was the lessons I had. Um, but yeah, it is. I definitely see where you're coming from with the gripes. Yeah,
I just find it very. I think she's personally done it because she had that massive gripe with Scooter
I
Braun,
think so.
and like because obviously like I think it's like is it Big Machine? I think it's Big Machine Record. They were the company that owned her licenses to start with. It's someone else who owned it. I think it's because Scooter Braun took over Big Machine. I don't really delve into this too much deep enough, but he take it over and then he like took hold of her license. I think he sold them. Maybe he sold them without her permission. It was something like it was like a
Mm,
big debacle because like she properly went like off on it. And I think that's why she's done it because she basically is trying to quote unquote like collect her property. So it's like
yes.
every single album she's had, it's like it's now quote unquote mine. But at the same
Mm,
time, like you're remastering, but you're a different person from the one that you were making these. So it's like your voice doesn't have the same emotion or it doesn't have the same resonance with it. It's going to be different for. I find it quite interesting. I find it's interesting she's doing it, and the purpose of why she's doing it is kind of. I think that maybe kind of clouds the judgment of like just leaving your music as it is.
yeah,
Um, like remasters aren't unheard of. Like people do it with other. I think was it Kelly Clarkson that did it. With her music, someone's done it
yeah.
before, like with their own music, and it's like,
I do it with my own music. Like "Summertime Dreams"
yeah,
was a song I've remastered. Even little people are just like, yeah. It's just like that one thing. It's just like speaking as a musician myself. Yeah, there's some songs I don't want to touch because I was in a different time, but then there's other songs where I do want to touch because I listen to it. I'm like, with the knowledge I have now, with who I am now, like I can do it so much better now.
but
But at the
also let's
same
just say this.
time,
Let's take this example. I don't know if you feel the same way. Like for example, let's say
mm,
Spotify had a dispute with you. I'm the CEO, and I take control of your masters there, and
yeah,
I take control of the masters for the essence of life. And you go
mm,
through a high-profile dispute with me, and I keep it then, and I'm like keeping it, and then you eventually win it back. So you take the essence of life back, and so this is like 10 years later, and this was obviously like, for example, with Fearless, her album, that's like 15 years at least minimum. I think 10, 15 years that it's been since she even recorded that. You take that then, yeah, you get the essence
mm,
of life back, and 10 years later, this is 10 years later, you get the license back for it. You decide to re-record it, so you have to record the music again for it, and then you're re-recording the lyrics with Kylie, who's now much older in her life. Her voice is
mm.
going to change, etc. And at the same time, Marcus is going to have to re-record his lines, and he's going to be much older, and his voice is going to be different as well, even though it might be very much
Much more
Barry White.
booming.
Yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
so we very much like Barry White, but like at the same time, his voice will be different. He'll be in a different place. And it's like, will you be able to capture the same magic that you created in the original track in a
Mm,
remaster? Never. It's going to
yeah,
sound different every time. You could sit there in front of that computer, in front of a keyboard, in front of whatever you wanted, 1,500 times. You could sit there and try it. You'll never make the same thing again,
exactly.
and I don't think you'll either be happy with it either. So like for me, that's what I question with Taylor Swift. I'm like, are you really happy with this track? It's like I get
Well,
it.
yeah,
I
like there's also just like you said, like it's a different context. It's now more poppy. Is
yeah.
and
She
that's
was
the thing.
heavily criticized for it. Heavily
Yeah.
criticized for moving away from country. Like that's why her music is like her entire discography. When you look for it, she moved away from from country so much, and people are
Mm.
like, "Wait a minute, it's your entire roots of it." And it's like, fair enough, she made
Yeah,
a
because
success as a pop
country, like
star.
she was like the most approachable country music at the time. Like a lot of country at that time was not approachable for like newcomers, and Taylor Swift was like the gateway into that.
Yeah,
And then, you know, took a different route. And I'm like, you know what? She's getting her bag. I'm respecting it, but at the same time, it's like, man, don't you want to go now? Have you listened to Folklore?
no,
Oh my god, dude. Listen to Folklore. Because like she goes back to her roots in Folklore. It's so Folklore is my favorite Taylor Swift album of all time.
really.
Oh god, yeah, because it happened in which is actually gonna be, like going kind of into what mine is, but like it was her 2020 album where all the studios shut down And so she finally recorded from her home, and it's very much tailored to her core. And it's Folklore is like my favorite album by Taylor Swift.
It's interesting that, yeah, her albums are quite interesting. Like, she moved away from into the pop thing. It's like, fair enough, you accept it for what it is, but then if you put pop electric synthesis on, like Fearless, for example, it's disjointed. I'm sorry, like your music sounds very different. It doesn't fit the time of what it is. It's like trying to go back to the Beatles music early on and then start putting like loads of electrical guitar riffs and stuff into it. It's like, it's like, it's not going to work, man. George Harrison's music was the way that he did it. The way he played the guitar is how he's going to play the guitar. It's like you're changing too much of something. So it's like, for me, I find her versions quite an interesting concept. I think it's probably, for me, better overshadowed her judgment in terms of doing them because of the Scooter Braun, Big Machine, etc. like debacle. So yeah, nonetheless, I thought I'd mention that. I think Taylor Swift has taken up about 50 minutes of this conversation, but yeah, nonetheless, you can pick your spread the arts. I thought you might enjoy that because it was music from me.
Oh yeah, and especially with Taylor Swift, she's a Pennsylvania girl, which I'm a Pennsylvania boy, so of course,
Pennsylvania.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah, she's Pennsylvanian. Her parents moved her to Nashville to like really skyrocket her dreams.
Yeah,
but yeah, she's Pennsylvania. Yeah,
because I remember the story about her, like her packing her bags up. Like the parents basically, she like made her, like her parents like made the decision to pack up her bags, this untested like girl, and then took her to like lift off her music career, which is wild. But I didn't realize she was actually born in Pennsylvania. That's quite mad. That.
Yeah, I was like, that's my Pennsylvania girl, dude. Like I can't lie. But yeah, no. So speaking on not Pennsylvania, I'm speaking on a Swedish artist. So my favorite musician right now, like this is my favorite musician, is Casbo, which I mentioned before. Casbo released in 2020 my favorite album of all time. I love this album dearly. It's called The Making of Paracosm. He has not released any music since The Making of Paracosm in 2020. And even that album, he was struggling to release because after the release of his first album, he was starting to have hearing loss. Like he was sitting by a lake one day and he's just like, I don't know if I can do music anymore because he's developing this sort of hearing loss. And he just said, no, screw it, and made one of my favorite albums of all time. He's finally released a new track, which is called The Way. It looks like that, and it's called The Way You Had Me. And he released something on Twitter. Oh, I just made the image bigger. There we go. I like the cover art. It's nice.
Is that cloud?
Yeah, in the background, but it's more of like a cave almost. It's like it's really cool. Like I like the aesthetic of that. It's very nice.
Oh, I thought it was cloud with like lightning around it at first. So yeah, it's cave then.
Yeah, no, it's a nice aesthetic. And the way he said it, like on Twitter, saying that he doesn't know his place in the electronic world. He has his style, but he wants to go forward in another style. And this song was like that bridge in between his old style and what his new style is going to be. So he's like, I hope you support me. I want to change my style a little bit. And I'm like, I'm all about it, man. Like, because when I went from Adam Evil to Cast a Garden, that was like my change of like where I want to go with music. And it's a good song. It's about heartbreak, and it's about, you know, whether or not that love was real or not. You know, did we have something, or was it just the way you had me at the time? It's really good. I think the music is different from usual Casbo. I remember I listened to it and I was like, it's not what I expect Casbo to do. And and that's the thing. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's just saying like, hey, you knew Casbo before, but I want to go a different routes. And as a fellow artist, I'm like, I understand that. You know, I understand that, like, hey, you just can't be on the same grind all the time. In fact, it was Water Parks. Water Parks, when they came out with their album called Fandom, which is an entire album of how much their fans suck. It's just like, it's a great album. But in their one track, I believe the second track, he starts talking about like you want to hear my art, but only on your terms. It's just kind of like that thing. It's like, you want to feel me, you want me to be an artist, but only on your terms, like only the way you want me to. And I think that's what Kaz was doing with The Way You Had Me. It's just like, I'm doing my art, not on your terms. This is where I want to be. So Casbo, The Way You Had Me, go check out the single. I'm really excited for the new album to drop. So there it is.
There it is. Casbo and Taylor Swift on the next Life is Strange soundtrack, and we'll wrap up there because I want to make it back into that. That's a good lengthy conversation on music. And again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be bringing back more Life is Strange stuff in the future, so do not worry about that. I know it's been a bit hit and miss in between, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please do consider dropping subscribe, turn notifications, like the video, and share with your friends. Help support the channel more than anything else. And also, again, StrangeCast is always available on all podcast services, so you can check us out on Apple Music, Spotify, the video version, and all the other podcast services. We'll be back out in early September, so hopefully, fingers crossed, by the time this episode comes out, that Nod Montreal has not announced its game. Otherwise, I will be absolutely furious. But no, hopefully, we don't have that announcement just right now. But yeah, as I said, we're back in early September. If you have any suggestions, any comments, any ideas you want us to cover in Life is Strange topic-wise, please do leave them in the comment section. We have used fan topics before. But until then, take care, guys. We'll see you again.
Later.